People, look here. This is where we left off. 6:37 p.m., 5:28. Of course, as usual, this thing just loads so freaking slow. And I do have some new alerts there. And I was trying to get back to the video that I did say that. See here? 10 years earlier, 93, that's about where we left off, remember? Charged and found guilty of sexual abuse in the 3rd degree. Fined $1,000 and given 10 years prison sentence, which was suspended, put on probation, okay? Special. Of course, that's Iowa, you see. AKA Iowa. The preacher, their very preacher, with those rules up there, breaking the rules, just like he was just Mr. Awesome. Okay, we're still on this IowaCrimeBlogspot.com. Alright, and I was real sure I didn't know when in 93 that the mother had contacted, wanting to send him to live with their dad. Remember, the older brother was not this kind of problem at all. He was a charm. I upset him a few times, I think. Excuse me. But part of that's just my personality. Being the Scorpio, redhead. I've never been real vindictive. But I do get angry. Okay? And I felt like I was being taken advantage of in that house. When their dad was asleep so much. Now see, his meds too would go through changes, just like anybody else's. Most people's, you know, this one doesn't work, try another one. If this one doesn't work. Then there's the period of adjustment, where after you get your meds, a lot of people need to be hospitalized. Some don't. They just change. It's no big deal. Okay? Well, part of the time, they get a lot of work done in, like, the spring and summer, nice weather, the fall. When it was bad weather, though, he did a lot of sleeping. And there for a while, it was 18 or so hours a day, because he'd get up after a full night's sleep, a restful sleep, come down and have coffee with me, maybe breakfast if it was a weekend, or summer, take his morning pills, and he'd crash on the couch again, until like dinner time. It was that bad. But I know that's how it is for a lot of people, so, I mean, I never slighted him because of it. Never griped or anything. What the BA wanted him to do, the BA wanted him to do, and I was behind him, so I was for it. You see what I'm saying? Not gonna get in there and act like I got a big dick to swing. Get it? So, and excuse my language this afternoon, I've been like this, like most of the day, because it's been a pretty hard day. And my son did message me, bless his heart, but, so, I mean, I know he got the yard mowed and he took a nap. That's about all I know of my son for right now. Except for he's a sweetheart. And he deserves a good life, so, back to this. How can this kind of crap go on? She was protecting that. She was protecting this. If she had said in 93, hey, the preacher up there is doing stuff to us kids, us girls, or to me that he shouldn't be doing, and he's been caught at it, instead of all this tiptoeing around and shush about it and not letting info out that we could find out about until 97 when I got the files from state, when she wrote that letter in 95 and had that info clear back. She knew her daughter was a deviant. She knew it because she wrote about it in that letter. Alright? My real big problem with that is that we weren't warned, and we had a son who was at the time under school age, he was like in kindergarten age. Kindergarten to first grade age when they first got there. Is that fair of someone to send you their deviant, not mention you've got a kid in the home, you put the trust in that person that's a deviant without knowing? I did have my inklings about her. I got bad feelings because of the way she conducted herself around me, and when I was talking to her, explaining something to her, telling her how to do something, I just did not like her overall attitude. And I explained when John was up on his feet, but still the medicine could have prevented him from fully comprehending what I was telling him was going on. I tried to tell my mother, and then my mother later agreed, yes, Veronica, there's something definitely wrong with her. She's done this, that, and the other thing. My mother had a little laundry list, much like mine, of things that had happened. For one, she was following my dad around the yard like a little lost puppy. I said, well, she does the guys that way too here. She says, I'm afraid she'll get hurt, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, and I've told her to stop it, but she won't listen. She does it anyway. Well, see, another thing right up with that about getting hurt is she was following her brother while he was putting lumber away in the garage one day. And right behind him, she was like 10 inches to a foot behind the end of that board, following step for step. I think they were both going left at the same time and right at the same time, is how it looked. Well, now it looks that way. But I thought, wow, what if he stopped and turned around that board? She'd get it right upside the noggin. Because, see, our driveway and where they worked in that garage was right outside the family room, and we had a very small north yard. It was probably not more than 10 feet, 10 or 12 feet wide, but it was long. It was the length of that house, and then went around the back, and then the backyard was very narrow too, like the side yard there. And then on the other side of our driveway we had that other lot. But they'd get like the painting stuff, the sawhorses, and the lattice, when they did the lattice, when they first, to have a project together. Excuse me. And did all that painting with paintbrushes. That took a lot of time, when most people would have just got a sprayer and sprayed them. But I stayed in the house so they could have their, get connected time, because their mom had told them for 13 years that he was dead. And he tried to connect several times, but she just would not hear of it. And he sent a box of stuff for Christmas. She opened it. They saw it. Their hearts were touched by that. Their eyes grasped everything that was in that box. And that cold-hearted woman packed it all back up and sent it back. And the reason he left in the first place was because he had caught them, her friends and her, on the telephone. And they were plotting on him, and he was advised to leave. And she had raped him. so that she could have the daughter. So you see, he ran off from an abusive wife. He left the day the daughter was born. To me, it would seem like if he was some kind of pervert, he would have wanted to stay around and have his way with a newborn. But he didn't. He turned into a train hobo and rode all the way to Texas and back and met up with a different woman and married her. But see, she wasn't subjected to the hate of the stepdaughter like I was. I had this hate in my face every day. And that's one thing wife number 2 would never know, was what it was like to be hated like that for every breath she took, for her looks, for she was also a redhead, but much older than him. So, because wife 1 raped him, second wife was much older and more motherly toward him and didn't give him that kind of crap to have to deal with. They were both drunks, but they were happy drunks until they fought, and then they were vicious drunks. Okay? So then he went through a thing with them in 85 where that wife and her daughter devised a plan on him, and the daughter was at one time going with the judge's son, so she revealed what had happened to the judge's son, and the judge's son related it to his father, or relayed it, and John was let out of jail from that incident after 6 weeks. Well, what had happened was, during their fighting, they had come to realize they just really didn't have any use for each other anymore, and they would divorce. Or, well, she had that was her idea. He wanted to keep that marriage together, if at all possible, so he got himself to some marital counseling, his own initiative. It wasn't a court order thing, because I know many in Sedalia are court ordered to see these kind of people. And that one mentioned in a note to the court, a session note, that she had done flooding on him, which is brainwashing. And what enraged me even worse than finding that out was that she had put a little smiley face beside that note, turned it into the court. Well, for one thing, 2 pieces of information are missing from that. Key, very key pieces. One is, where is the informed consent for that sort of treatment? And if there was any, why wasn't it in with the court papers she submitted? They were trying to railroad him. And the second key piece would be a release of information of his file from that sessions note to the court. There would have to be a release of information, and there would have to be an informed consent form at the start, and there wasn't. Or I feel it would have been in that case file that I got from the state, 97, but nobody ever mentioned that these people in Sedalia are very smart at all. Okay? And because I was on so much medication myself, and have, my own form of PTSD, although it's undocumented and unofficial, I know what I have. I couldn't just spring up with these answers, and I wish to God that I could have. If I could have at all saved John Myers with his heart problems and his asthma with the need for the inhaler and other things, PTSD, which has turned into prisoner of war syndrome now, and his need for a service dog, I would have surely have done so. I want everyone to know that if at all possible, if I had had my faculties instead of being pumped full of those pills, I would have saved his life in that way.